Welcome to the Ripon League of Women Voters informational meeting. My name is Preston Benton. Tonight we are interviewing Judge Troy Damsteegt. He is a candidate for the municipal judge. Hi, Troy.
Hi there, Preston. Thanks for letting me come in.
Of course. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, how far back would you like me to go?
As far back as you'd like.
Well, why don't we go with adult life, because childhood wasn't anything too exciting. I'm a farm boy. But my adult life, I started in 1990. My public service started in 1990 with the City of Ripon Police Department. I was a police, fire, and 911 dispatcher. And then I also did that at the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Department. Did that for about 3 years, I believe. Actually 4. And then in 1994, I went to the village of North Fond du Lac and became a police officer there. And at North Fond du Lac, I held several titles over the course of 16 years. Everything from patrol officer, school resource officer, DARE officer, field training officer, evidence technician, property custodian, and then ended my career there at the rank of sergeant. And then in 2010, I came over here to the City of Ripon and worked for the City of Ripon Police Department for another 15 years and retired at the rank of captain.
So a lot of people in Ripon know you as Officer Damsteegt. What encouraged you to run for judge?
Well, I was able to retire because I had enough time in the state retirement system that I was able to retire. And I had known the previous judge, Judge Jerry J. He had been on the bench for 28 years, ever since the municipal court was started. And I had known him because we actually were police officers together in the village of North Fond du Lac. And so we worked a lot of shifts together, and we'd kept in contact over the years. And then when I came over here to Ripon and was the captain, one of the job duties of the police captain here at Ripon is to be the liaison from the police department to all the courts that we deal with. And so I was the liaison between the department and Lakeside Municipal Court, so I got to know Judge J, or continue to get to know Judge J, as well as the clerks for the court. And I was actually at his retirement party. He retired midterm. And so I was at his retirement party and we were talking about it, and it kind of lit the fire to pursue going for the judge position. And I checked with the state and I was able to retire and take on this new position. And I was able to continue my public service and use my knowledge and experience, and now continue to serve in this new role.
That's awesome. So for those people in our communities that don't know what a municipal court is, can you kind of explain what municipal court is and what it does?
Sure. So the municipal court deals mostly with the lower level situations. We don't deal with the criminal matters like circuit court would deal with. We don't deal with civil matters like circuit court, like people suing each other, divorces, anything like that. We deal with mostly traffic. So everything from drunk driving, first offense, down to like a parking ticket. We would deal with all traffic matters, and then local ordinances, which are the local rules the jurisdiction enacts. So every local ordinance, and then building code violations, fire code violations, and then I can also perform marriages, and then for the building code violations, if the inspector needs to get into a property to do a safety inspection but can't get the owner to comply for whatever reason, I can issue a warrant for inspections.
Okay. So there are 23 different municipalities in our municipal court. Could you talk a little bit about the communities and what counties those involve?
Sure. So actually Lakeside Municipal Court is one of the largest municipal courts in the state. Obviously, we have, Milwaukee and Madison. Those are the really big municipal courts. And then there's another municipal court that's a multi-jurisdictional one down by Germantown, West Bend area. And that's another large court because they have several jurisdictions, and some of those are bigger jurisdictions. But like you mentioned, Lakeside Municipal is 23 jurisdictions over 3 counties, everywhere from Sheboygan County, Fond du Lac County, and Green Lake County.
Perfect. So,
and you asked which jurisdictions?
Yes.
All 23 I don't have memorized, but I have a list here. So I'll go by cities first. It's the City of Berlin, City of Fond du Lac, City of Green Lake, City of Marquezan, City of Princeton, and City of Ripon. Townships include the town of Auburn, Calumet, Empire, Fond du Lac, Friendship, Oakfield, Osceola, Ripon, Taycheedah, and Wilson. And villages include Brandon, Campbellsport, Eden, Fairwater, North Fond du Lac, Oakfield, and St. Cloud.
Awesome. So could you talk a little bit about how long a term is for a municipal judge?
Well, right now I'm appointed because Judge Jay retired midterm. So I was appointed by the Lakeside Municipal Court Executive Committee. They put out the notice that they were looking for a judge. Myself and another person applied for the position. They reviewed the applications and they selected me to fill the rest of Judge Jay's term. Then, because he retired midterm and because I was appointed, the state is making us have a special election, which will happen on November 4th. Whoever wins that election continues the rest of the term, which is spring of 2027. So then in the spring of 2027, this position will be on the ballot again, and that will be for the full 4-year term then.
Okay, so it's 4-year increments.
It's a 4-year term, yes.
And are there term limits to that?
Not as far as I know,
Okay.
because like I said previously, Judge Jay had been on the bench for 28 years, so.
So you're ready to serve, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know if I'll serve that long, but.
So what makes you what makes you qualified to be judge then?
I think I'm qualified because of my education as well as my work experience. You know, I've been in law enforcement my entire adult life, so I definitely know the rules of evidence, police procedures, the statutes, the ordinances, constitutional requirements, things that the officers are supposed to do when they arrest someone. You know, everything from the procedure of how to arrest a drunk driver to run a radar gun. You know, I have experience in all of that. So that helps me from the bench when we're doing a trial to know if everything was followed completely. It also ensures that the arrest was a good arrest, and it also protects the citizens' rights and things like that. My education, I feel, helps because I have a bachelor's degree in administration of justice. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership and quality. Those are from Marian University over in Fond du Lac. And then from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, I have a certified public manager degree. So I think the work experience along with the administration experience as well as the education helps me be well-rounded and make an informed decision, you know, by taking all the information and applying it correctly.
Yeah, so you have a lot of experience in the legal system and, you know, the criminal justice system. Did you have anybody that inspired you to get involved in that?
For the law enforcement, or for
law
the
enforcement
judge?
and then
Okay.
judge.
Well, when I started in law enforcement since I was 18. Like I said, right out of high school, I became a dispatcher. And before taking the the dispatch position, I tried to work at the Alto Dairy and work in a factory setting, and that just was not for me. So, you know, was talking with some family members, and I actually have a family member. You know, he's deceased now, but he was from the Netherlands and was actually a police officer in the Netherlands, and then in the Caribbean, in St. Martin, and then his son became a police officer in the state of Michigan. So I had always kind of looked up to them and was talking with them about my future and decided to get involved in law enforcement, and that's kind of what kind of prompted that. My work experience at the dairy, not liking it, and then, you know, talking with family that had been in law enforcement. It seemed intriguing, never know what you're going to do every day, and so that's what got me into it.
So do you have anybody that inspired you to become judge?
I would probably say Judge Jay because, you know, like I said, I worked with him from a young officer on and watched how he handled the court the entire 28 years he was on the bench and thought he treated people fairly and ran a good court. And that kind of inspired me, you know, when I was able to retire to, you know, continue to serve through this venue. So I would probably say him, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So of the municipalities that you listed, which ones actually hold municipal court hearings, and are there multiple communities to that list?
Yeah, so because of the large geographical area that we serve, we actually hold court in 5 different locations. That makes it more convenient for the police departments that use the court as well as the citizens that use the court. So we hold court in those 5 locations, and they are the City of Fond du Lac, Village of North Fond du Lac, City of Ripon, City of Berlin, and City of Green Lake. So the 2 locations that have multiple agencies come to them are Green Lake and North Fond du Lac. So at Green Lake, the cities of Princeton, Green Lake, and Marquezan hold their court there. And then in North Fond du Lac, all the other small villages and townships go to that location. City of Fond du Lac is just City of Fond du Lac cases. City of Ripon is just City of Ripon cases, and City of Berlin is just Berlin cases.
Gotcha. So all the cities hold their own court hearings, and then all the villages and townships go to
One of those other 2 locations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the larger cities hold their own court or their own cases in their city, yes.
Gotcha. So what sort of consequences do court defenders face if found guilty or responsible for the charges against them? Is it typically a fine, or do some folks serve time?
Well, like I said, we only deal with traffic and municipal violations. So yes, the main penalty is loss of license, a forfeiture, or pay fine, pay money. The only time I would send someone to jail is if for some reason they don't pay their ordinance ticket. I could technically sentence them to jail, but obviously I don't want to do that. We want to get them to comply with the law first of all, and then find another way to work with them to pay for their fines.
So, you kind of talked about that a little bit, but how would you describe your judicial philosophy or approach to the law?
Well, with Lakeside Municipal, or any municipal court for that matter, a lot of times this is the person's first interaction with a court. So what we try to do is, bring it down to their level so that they can understand it. A lot of people don't, acquire the services of an attorney when they're just going through municipal court. So we work with them. We explain the procedure to them, and my philosophy is to try and get future compliance. Even when I was a police officer, the main objective is to get, compliance. And by working with them, listening to them of why maybe something happened the way it did, and then trying to come up with a fair disposition is the goal for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do you ensure fairness in your courtroom?
Well, I think, I take the position of everyone. Like I'll list the charge, get the plea from the person, and if they plead guilty or no contest, I'll ask the city for information about what happened. Usually it's not the arresting officer that's there, but another officer is there to read the report and give me some information. I ask the defendant for some information from them, and then I just make a decision from there of what I feel is fair. Some things are, some things are set by guidelines by the state, and you just, say this is the violation and here's the sentence. So a lot of times you don't have a whole lot of leeway if it's a traffic matter that the guidelines are set by the state, like I said. The time that you would have, or that I would have leeway would be like an ordinance violation, or when we're dealing with the juveniles, if I want to hold the case open, see if they comply with, for example, truancy violations, see if they get to the point where they're going to school. Then at the end of that hold open period, I could dismiss it or make the forfeiture less or something like that.
Yeah. So how does the municipal court balance accountability with giving people a second chance?
Well, like I said, I think we have a good flexibility, especially on ordinance violations. Excuse me. Especially with ordinance violations, we have that flexibility of holding a case open or working with the prosecuting attorney to see if they want to amend the violation or reduce the violation to something else. For example, if a person has a speeding citation, they may plead not guilty, and then they have to have a mandatory pretrial conference with the prosecutor. And there's times when the prosecutor will amend it to an ordinance violation or something that the citizen and the city can agree to. That way it gets accountability for the violation, but it doesn't come down too hard on the defendant as well.
So, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing municipal courts today?
Well, a lot of times, and I guess there's an act going through the legislature right now where they're wanting us to or they're trying to enact higher forfeitures so that they can send the money to, Madison to pay for certain things. And the things are, municipal courts, we're pretty much self-sufficient. And a benefit of the municipal courts is the forfeitures are lower for the citizens. For the citizens. For example, if a citizen is issued a speeding citation and it goes to a municipal court, the lowest or the starting forfeiture amount is $98 for the lowest speeding ticket that there is. If that would have gone to circuit court, I believe that number goes up to like 175 or something like that. So the fees at circuit court are a lot more expensive. So it's more beneficial for the citizens to have a municipal court because the costs are lower. But like I said, Madison is trying to increase those fees a little bit. So that's unfortunately a bit of a hurdle for us. Another thing that I think would be a challenge sometimes is finding a good qualified judge and good qualified clerks to run the court. We're very lucky at Lakeside Municipal Court. I have 2 full-time clerks. They both have many years of experience in clerking for municipal court, and we run a very good, efficient court.
Yeah, so how long have you been serving as judge since your retirement?
So I retired from the city of Ripon on July 6th, and then I shadowed or observed Judge Jay full-time for the remainder of July. And then he retired at the end of July, and I took over August 1st. So I've been doing the full-time judge position since August 1st. Well, it's not full-time, it's a part-time position, but I'm saying I've been doing all the duties since August 1st, 2025.
And what's one of your biggest takeaways or key learning experiences?
It's just interesting to see it from this side of law enforcement. I used to, not only be an officer myself and write the citations and, do everything you need to do to have a strong case. And then as an administrator, I would be observing and making sure the officers are doing everything correctly. And now from this side, I'm making sure not only that I sentence correctly and doing everything correctly on the judge side, but I'm also kind of using my experience, like I said, as an administrator and a police officer to make sure that they are doing everything right as well. So yeah, that's the most unique part is seeing the full circle now.
Yeah. So would you say being involved in law enforcement prior to being a judge kind of assisted you along the way?
Oh, absolutely. Like I had mentioned earlier, having the knowledge of how a radar unit works, having the knowledge of the procedures an operating while intoxicated or arrested should go, the field sobriety test the officer puts the driver through, having all that knowledge and actually having done it myself definitely helps from the bench, making sure things are done correctly.
Does it provide a little bit more understanding for the person being prosecuted in your eyes?
For them to know that?
Or either way, yeah.
I don't know that too many people, as a defendant, I don't know that they know my background, that I was a police officer. So I don't know if that impacts their decisions at all. So that I don't know.
Does it impact your decisions at all?
No, well, in a way, because like I said, I want to make sure that everything is done correctly. Like for instance, I had a citation come through on initial appearances that it was written as a traffic violation on private property. And there's only very few traffic violations that can be written on private property. And I realized that this was a citation that could not be issued, so I dismissed it right away, right from the bench. Without the defendant even being in court to make a plea. I dismissed it because I knew that it could not be issued the way it was written. So that definitely has helped me.
Yeah. So how would you make court proceedings more accessible or understanding for citizens? And I know you kind of talked about that a little bit, bringing it down to their level, but as judge, what would you do to provide that?
Well, I think, like I said, we try to bring it down to the level, like you just said as well. Just keeping in mind that this is their first experience with the judicial system a majority of the time. And, just being approachable, letting them feel comfortable that they can talk to me. And then we also have a pamphlet that we have at the entrance to the court that kind of explains the whole procedures, their options of how they can handle the citation. Because like I said, a lot of these citizens are just doing it themselves. They don't have the services of an attorney. They can get them if they want to, but most of them don't, and so we provide them with the information so that they can represent themselves as well.
Okay. So especially, like you said, getting to see the full circle of how the operations work, could you talk a little bit or describe how you see the relationship between law enforcement, the courts, and the community?
I think we are lucky that we are in the area that we are. Generally speaking, the police departments have a very good working relationship with their communities. They realize they need the support of the community, and the citizens realize they need the police as well. So they're a good team for the most part. And then the courts, when we get involved, it's people have possibly made a mistake, and the officer has referred it to the court, and then we work with the citizen to see if they feel they did violate. A lot of times they just plead guilty or they realize they did it. But like I had mentioned earlier, our main objective is to get compliance. We prefer voluntary compliance. Unfortunately, some people do have to have a fine or whatever. But especially with like the property maintenance violations that I see come across, the cities really don't want people to have to pay a fine. They just want compliance. Building codes and ordinances are there enacted because the community as a whole has requested those rules be enacted and enforced. And that's the main objective, is just to get people to comply.
So that leads me into my next and final question. What do you hope to accomplish during your time on the bench if elected?
Like I said, Judge Jay ran a great court for 28 years, and I would hope that I can continue that, continue to serve. I've my entire adult life I've served the public. I would like to continue to serve the public, keeping them in mind, filling the needs of the community, and ending that end part. I'm the final part of the full cycle of violation happens, an investigation happens, it gets referred to me, and then it ends at mine. I would just like to make sure that I continue to be fair, use my knowledge, continue to be educated on the laws and the case law and the legal updates, so that I can continue to serve well and be informed.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you.